You are listening to the Business Leadership Podcast with Edwin Frondozo.
The feeling I try to create after every video is the audience feels more inspired, they feel more educated, and they feel like they want to go out and do something. The vlog era slowly shifted into more produced content, like Mr. Beast. He came in and then he put in huge budgets into every episode of his YouTube videos, which was unheard of. Before, spending even $100 or $1,000 was something that was click-worthy on YouTube.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, biz leaders. Welcome to another episode of the Business Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Edwin Frondozo, and today we are featuring a special episode from our future Narrator miniseries recorded live at the Collision Conference in Toronto, Canada. In this miniseries, we explore the future of leadership, innovation, and storytelling with visionary leaders who are not just designing products, but are creating entire new worlds and markets. Joining me is Dr. Paul Newton, and together, we're speaking with Hafoo Go. He is a Pan-Asian content creator boasting over 6.3 million subscribers on YouTube and nearly 2 billion views. He creates some of the largest edutainment content in YouTube, regularly achieving millions of views with his hybrid creator approach. In this conversation, Hafu will discuss his mission to bring niche hobbies to a broader audience, aiming to inspire and educate viewers through his videos. We'll explore his commitment to creating anti-quote brain rot, end quote, content that motivates audience to take action, his reflection on the evolution of YouTube content, and his approach to both long and short form videos. Hafu will share his experience seeking advice from industry figures, the importance of trial and error, and his goal of producing content that makes people feel better and think positively. So, without further ado, here we go. We're now speaking with viral content creator, YouTuber, Hafoo Go. How are you doing today?
Great, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have you. This is a treat for me. Hafoo, just to get started, what problem is the content that you're creating? What problem is it solving within the creator industry?
The big problem that people talk about today with social media is that social media takes away from your life.
Yeah.
People get distracted by social media. It consumes their life and they feel like they're wasting time when they're consuming content on there. So my content tries to be the opposite of that. So what I do is I go to experts in like niche hobbies, for example, like Rubik's Cubes, and I get to learn from them and have them teach their learnings to a broader audience. And I bring that like really passionate but niche community to the general public so they can discover that and feel the joy of some of those niche hobbies as well. So the feeling I try to create after every video is the audience feels more inspired, they feel more educated, and they feel like they want to go out and do something after each video instead of just like being there. A word people like to use nowadays is brain rot. I try to be anti-brain rot content. Yeah.
I guess for myself, and I have children as well, and for what you're creating, it's very helpful. I think it's the educate. What do you term it? Edutainment or?
Yeah, edutainment is a word that people often use. Yeah.
I guess where my mind was going, Hafu, is what you're talking about. The brain rot is like, how do you see like the YouTube platforms and the algorithms help for that? Because they obviously want to keep people in social media. So I just imagine you inspire someone, but then your video ends.
Yeah.
Are they still on there, or do you try to get them off the social media, off the video?
I mean, I do what I can, right?
Yes.
I can only do so much, but what I try to do is I make every video a little bit more educational, so they feel better after watching my video.
How do you see the content today, and how is it evolving to attract and keep these viewers stimulated and their attention there?
Yeah, content has shifts over time. And I think when YouTube and social media first started, content was very organic. There was a lot of vlogging, right? Casey Neistat was a big proponent of that era, the vlog era. And then it slowly shifted into more produced content. Like Mr. Beast, he came in and then he put in huge budgets into every episode of his YouTube videos, which was unheard of. Before, spending even $100
Yeah.
or $1,000 was something that was click-worthy on YouTube. But now you put $1,000 in your title, nobody cares. You have to put $100,000 for it to even make a dent. YouTube went from really organic content to then very produced content. And within the last year or two, we've seen a little bit of shift back to more of the relatable side of things. Some people call it lo-fi, meaning like not as highly produced, more relatable type of content.
Do you think that's a reflection to the TikTok and the quick media snippets?
Yeah, part of it, because just like fashion, it goes in cycles.
Yeah.
Fashion trends from 50 years ago come back and be the new trend of today, right?
Right.
Same thing with this is we saw a huge boom in the TikTok space with short form video coming in. And then people wanted longer videos.
Yeah.
Because they've seen so much short form stuff. So I primarily produce a lot of videos on YouTube. Big thing with YouTube nowadays is that TV viewership has gone way high. Before, my TV viewership percentage was like 10%. Now it's 40%. It's like really gone up because people are like craving that more in-depth and more longer content.
Oh, that's interesting. Does that reflect on what you're going to produce next and what you're planning in your content calendar now?
Yes, a little bit. Yeah, because since TV is like YouTube is penetrating a lot of smart TVs.
Yeah.
We definitely have to think of our content strategy and consider that.
This is really interesting. And do you find the TV viewers a little different than the traditional, let's say, watching and viewing it on the laptop? Is it a different?
Yeah, it's more of a how would I say, more of a calm and relaxed viewing experience and more passive viewing experience, because most people that they don't like clicking around on their TV. It's a hassle to do it on your remote. Just click from one video to the next video. Whereas on your phone, you can easily swipe down. You can choose the next video, skip, double tap, stuff like that, right? So on TV, people tend to view longer than on mobile platforms.
Okay.
So they have a longer attention span to sit through the whole video and take in the whole thing.
Are they the same demographics, or is it a new demographics that are coming in from that?
I would say it's a bit of both. It's a bit of both. My videos, they reach families, right? There's teenagers, there's also parents, there's also like college students, but let's just take the family segment, for example. The TV is now being played in the living room. So instead of the kid watching the video by themselves, the teenager watching the video by themselves, the parent might be in the background too, and they see some of the stuff. I like sometimes I get sent like pictures or videos of the family living rooms, and my video's on there. So like the whole family is watching it, even though they may not be paying attention all the time, but they see it. So it's different, but it's also the same.
That's cool. That's a great visualization, and that must make you feel good when you're seeing, I guess, that reflection coming back to you in terms of the family watching, in terms of a testament of what you're creating, right?
Exactly. It means that the content is educational enough and it's PG friendly enough that the parents deem it to be safe for the kids.
That's great. Just thinking about the YouTube getting into the TV, into the family rooms, what other major disruptions are you seeing that are shaping the industry now?
There's a lot more globalization of content, whereas dubbing has become a big part of YouTube specifically because YouTube has enabled the tech for it. They now have like multi-language audio tracks where you can publish one video, but then in the toggle where you change like the resolution settings, you can also now change audio track settings. I can upload my videos in English, but then have another audio track in Spanish or Chinese or Portuguese. And that will reach the audience in those countries specifically because some of them don't like watching language content. Like people mostly enjoy content in their own language, right? That's why dubbed movies are a thing.
So have you experimented with that?
I have actually, yeah.
And are you seeing countries that rise up in terms of your content or?
Yeah, Spanish is always going to be like the biggest second language for Western type of content just because there's a huge Spanish audience here. So yeah, like it's definitely helped me reach a lot more people in places.
Amazing. it's not AI though. You have to get a paid actor, or is it?
There's multiple ways of doing it.
Right.
There's AI that does it, where you can train it on your own voice and then it will
Okay.
translate it.
Yeah.
There's also actors, voice actors that you can hire for your different languages as well.
Have you experimented with what makes it
Yeah,
popular or not? What's better, like the AI version?
It's all a matter of cost. If you're trying to hire human voice actors, it's about 20 times the cost.
Wow.
Yeah.
Of course. I know we probably touched upon it earlier, but what do you see, or what does a future of content creation across like the continents and cultural nuances really look like now? Because you're developing this in English, but how would you answer that question?
I think future of content, it's going to be two things. I feel like the middle ground of content is slowly phasing out.
What does that mean?
There's going to be super short form, so below a minute, and then there's going to be super long form, right? And then I feel like the stuff that's 5 minutes to 10 minutes is like slowly phasing out a little bit.
Okay.
Just because the consumer behaviors have changed, where on the social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and even Facebook, like they scroll reels, which are 60 seconds. And then on YouTube, where the longer content lives, they also have shorts that people scroll, and then they have long form videos that people watch. But then for long form videos, I don't think a lot of people are sitting down to watch like the 10-minute videos anymore, because TV is going up. They want longer videos. And if they're in the mood to sit down and watch a video, they're probably going to choose a longer video. That's where I see things.
That's interesting. I guess the shorts and the minutes, they're the trailers.
Not necessarily,
yeah.
because I produce content for both
Okay.
long and short, and my short form content is not promoting my long form.
Okay.
It's just
Just new stuff.
standalone
Yeah.
on its own that I film. Yeah.
Oh wow. But it's complementary, or it's
Well, it's similar like topics, because I do like experiments, try different skills, stuff like that. It's similar topics, but it's just different content.
so. I guess for myself and listening to this, where I predominantly make long form audio content, and if I were thinking about creating more of this video content, I can't reuse things. I would have to make something specifically for 1 minute longer. And then if it's a longer content, no one's really sitting through an interview, or are they? Podcast interviews.
Podcast is a huge niche on social media. You see a podcast.
Everyone wants
Podcast
to look like a
clips.
podcast.
Yeah. Get the Shure SMB.
Yeah.
You look legit.
If you were to give me advice in terms of audio content for business leaders,
Yeah.
but if I were to leverage from what you're saying, if I'm creating content for the short form, it should be different than the one I'm creating for a long-term video.
Yeah, I think we're just getting a little bit more technical.
Yeah.
If you're trying to upload on the social media platforms, you always need video, because audio just doesn't go
Doesn't
viral.
go for it, yeah.
So what you could potentially do is you can take your audio tracks and then put footage behind your audio tracks that are like related to your content. Like a lot of people put like movie clips or whatever that are related to what we're talking about. Or they can put B-roll clips of what we're talking about. There's definitely ways of repurposing your long-form audio podcast for the short-form video stuff.
But it has to be specific, is where I'm...
Yeah, you got to think more deliberately about how to do that and how to make it reach the people that you want.
It's totally selfishly asking now, because it's just like I've seen in my industry and in the podcasters, they reuse everything. And I feel like it's lazy marketing coming from the podcasting teams.
You think so?
Not in what you're doing, when they just repurpose
Right.
of clips, and it's not really for deliberate.
The
Yes.
thing is, podcast platforms don't have that much distribution built in. If you already have an audience,
Yeah.
you can push them over. But then if you're trying to create a new audience, it's hard on those platforms. There's no discovery algorithm there, or at least very limited discovery algorithms. You get like a top 100 list, but other
that's
than
it,
that, like
yeah.
you don't get much. So people are trying to be innovative and find ways to push from TikTok onto their podcast.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, I get it. I appreciate that. Thank you. I guess more personally, what are the biggest challenges you're facing within your business, within the content that you're creating?
Right now, I feel like a lot of what I'm doing on the content side is really working well.
Mhm.
We're growing at about 1 million subscribers a month on YouTube,
It's
which
amazing.
is
Congrats.
insane. The content is working, but what is my challenge now is building the team to support the growth. So I'm having to do a lot of the hiring and stuff like that, and behind the scenes stuff. So that's where my main challenges are now.
How are you looking to solve that? This is the Business Leadership Podcast. I talk to a lot of like execs who come through these problems. What are you
Right.
doing to help you solve these challenges?
If anyone listening, they want to help me out with that, give me some advice, I would love it.
Yeah.
Just reach out to me on Instagram at Hafoo or somewhere. But a lot of things. So one is just talking to more knowledgeable people in the industry,
Yeah.
people who have done it, who have grown big teams. Another thing is I'm trial and error, just like going for it and then see what happens and realizing that as long as the mistake doesn't kill the whole company, I'm good.
Yeah.
And yeah, just brute forcing it.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And fail fast is what they say in this collision industry, right? Hafu, what's your vision? What's the vision of the future that you're building now?
The vision that I'm building is I want to make good for you content. I want to make content that educates people, that inspires people, and makes them feel better about themselves. And I feel like that's what's missing in a lot of the content today. Yeah, I want to be able to influence a generation for good.
That's amazing. I'm rooting for you. Any final thoughts for the content creators, the business leaders, the founders that are listening today?
I think for anyone thinking about getting into content, it's a lot to think about in the beginning. Definitely, I would encourage them to download all the apps, see what's working on each platform, get a sense of how to go viral on those platforms. The way to really hone in on your format is by producing more and learning from each video and just constantly improving.
That's amazing. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
That's it, biz leaders. Thank you for joining me on this special episode of the Business Leadership Podcast, part of our Future Narrative mini-series recorded at Collision Conference in Toronto, Canada. It's been an inspiring conversation with Hafoo Go, exploring his journey as a viral content creator and his mission to create meaningful educational content. For links to all the resources we discussed and to learn more about the Future Narrative project, please check in the show notes in the app that you're listening to right now. And if you're interested in reading more about Hafoo and other business leaders we profiled at Collision, join the waitlist for our upcoming book. By the way, if you found any value in this episode, please subscribe, rate, and share it with the very first person who comes to mind that could benefit and be grateful from hearing from you. Your support helps us grow and bring you more great content. So thanks again for tuning in and being part of the community. Until next time, have a 100x day.